Welcome to our channel. In this video, we are going to talk about the Conceptual Framework of 2018 made by the International Accounting Standards Board. I will try to elaborate and make illustrations related to the contents of the conceptual framework so that we can attain not just the understanding of the framework but also mastery of the conceptual framework. So let's get started. First and foremost, you have to know first what are the overall content of this conceptual framework before we go each content one by one. Actually, the conceptual framework have 9 parts and I have developed an acronym for you to make it easier for memorization. We have SOCFIRM PC. Again, we have SOCFIRM PC where S stands for Status and Purpose of Conceptual Framework and O stands for Objective of the General Purpose Financial Reporting, and then Q stands for Qualitative Characteristics of Useful Financial Information. Now, we also have Financial Statements and the reporting entity for letter F, and we have letter E as in Elements of Financial Statements, and then letter R for Recognition and Recognition, letter M is for Measurement, and lastly, we have letter P and C which stands for Presentation and Disclosure and Concepts of Capital and Capital Maintenance. Again, remember SOCFIRM PC. That's the summary contents of the Conceptual Framework of International Accounting Standards Board of 2018. Now, let's go to the first of the 9 parts. We have again letter S which stands for Status and Purpose of Conceptual Framework. So, here are the overall paragraphs of the status and purpose of the conceptual framework. Let's elaborate each paragraph and, if it is possible, let's even do it sentence by sentence. Now, here in this part which says that the conceptual framework for financial reporting, conceptual framework, describes the objective of, and the concepts for, general purpose financial reporting. The purpose of the conceptual framework is to a. Assist the International Accounting Standards Board to develop IFRS standards that are based on consistent concepts. As you already know, the IASB is responsible for creating accounting standards for the global community. And according to this purpose of conceptual framework, whenever a new accounting standard needs to be developed, the IASB refers to the conceptual framework as a good starting point. It is because the conceptual framework provides essential principles that might be followed in creating accounting standards. Aside from principles, it also outlines the qualitative characteristics of accounting information that should be achieved when implementing these standards. Additionally, the framework includes guidelines on recognition principles, determining when and how to recognize items as assets, liabilities, revenues, expenses, or equity. It also offers various measurement bases and covers other important aspects. To elaborate further, let's consider an example of a very unique transaction that occurs in different countries worldwide. And the challenge is that there is no existing accounting standard to recognize this transaction. In such cases, the IASB faces the task of developing a new standard. They need to address questions like how to initially recognize the transaction, and whether it should be classified as an asset, or expense, or liability. They also need to determine how to measure it initially and subsequently, and when, and how to disclose it in the financial statements. To obtain preliminary answers to these questions, the IASB, according to this purpose, should turn to the conceptual framework. By referring to the framework, they can gain insights into how to initially recognize the transaction, make appropriate entries, determine proper measurement approaches, and have preliminary understanding on the necessary disclosures. The conceptual framework serves as a valuable resource in providing preliminary guidance for addressing unique transactions and in providing a good starting point for developing accounting standards. So that's the meaning of this. Now, let's go to another purpose of conceptual framework, which is according to here is assist preparers to develop consistent accounting policies when no standard applies to a particular transaction or other event, or when a standard allows a choice of accounting policy. For this, let's consider an example where you are an accountant or bookkeeper at ABC company and you encountered a unique transaction that does not have an accounting standard yet. Moreover, This transaction is only applicable to a few companies. As part of the financial statement preparers at ABC Corporation, you turn to the conceptual framework to guide you in developing the accounting policy and recording and measurement for this unique transaction. Because again, the conceptual framework provides principles that you can follow, as well as specific definitions for items such as assets, liabilities, equity, revenues, and expenses. It also offers different measurement bases and emphasizes the qualitative characteristics that financial information should possess to faithfully represent the event or unique transaction. Additionally, the conceptual framework is useful when a particular standard allows a choice of accounting policy. For example, in the case of inventories, where you have the option to use first in, first out, FIFO, or weighted average cost or other methods, the conceptual framework can help you determine the appropriate choice for your company. It provides guidance on which option aligns best with the principles and qualitative characteristics outlined in the framework and your company's nature of operations. So, in summary, the conceptual framework not only assists preparers when there is no accounting standard for a particular transaction but also helps them make informed choices when standards offer flexibility in accounting policies. By referring to the conceptual framework, preparers can ensure that their accounting policies result in financial statements that faithfully represent the company's financial position and performance. So that's it for this. Now, let's go to the third purpose, which states that the conceptual framework assists all parties to understand and interpret the standards. Again, the International Accounting Standards Board, IASB, is the authority responsible for developing accounting standards. And again, their starting point in creating a new standard is turning to the conceptual framework. So, if you are an interested party seeking to understand the accounting standards, you should start where the IASB started, which is the conceptual framework. It's as simple as that. The conceptual framework serves as the foundation for the standards, and by referring to it, you can gain a better understanding of the standards themselves and interpret them as an interested party. Let's continue to other paragraphs in the next video to keep this video short. Thank you for watching and see you in the next one.